Alright, shalom, shalom. It's your brother Yakwa from the GMS Chicago branch coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and Power of Hashem Shai. Before I start off, I can start by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Love lines to the positive great millstone will. I say to all your brethren doing this work in true sincerity with charity, right? I'm gonna make a quick lesson, Lord will be edifying straight to the point. Alright, speaking on, not basically being entangled, with the affairs of this life, man. Of course, we in the world, the scripture says, using the world is not abusing it, man. We get in, we get out, we do what we got to do, man. All right, we make our daily bread. All right, some brothers have families. All right, some brothers have hobbies, right? Like to go bowling and different, different little social settings that Jake like to get into. All right, but at the end of the day, our eye is single. Our eye is single towards the kingdom of heaven, man. All right, knowing the things to come and preparing ourselves for it spiritually, man. Right? Making sure, all right, that, we're one track minded, man. Not getting too consumed, all right, with the fears of this life, man. All right, because, you get too consumed with the fears of this life, man. All right, you can start slipping, man. Right? And when you start slipping, the world start grabbing you more and more, and and now you find yourself in the world, and then the day of the Lord comes, right, and it take you unawares, man, because you ain't been watching. Why? Because you've been too entangled, with the affairs of this life, man. You ain't been balanced, right? The Lord says, unjust balance is abomination to the Most High, man. Right? You can't put, the things of this life ahead of Yahweh Ba'ashem shining things that you got to do for the Lord, man. Right? Especially, being, prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, having to do this work, right? Setting aside time to, do your videos, to do some studying, right? Pray, fast, periodically, so forth and so on, man. And just keeping your mind, all right, sharp, man, by keeping up with current events, right? So forth and so on. That being said, we're just going to bring this precept out and close it out a little bit edifying. The second Ezra 14:14. It says, let go from the mortal thoughts, cast away the burdens of man. Put off now the weak nature, right? So let go from the mortal thoughts, man. All right, because all these, everything here is going to be destroyed, man. It's going to be consumed, right, with ICBM nuclear missile fire, man. Right? We understand that. So guess what, man? The goal is to get to the kingdom of heaven, man, because this place is rapidly falling, man. Right? This place is near expiration date, man. Right? You don't want to be caught here in the wrath to come, man. Right? You want to be saved, when Yahweh Shai returns with what you people call so-called UFOs, right, and deliver his elect, man. Right? And a innumerable multitude, man. Right? 144,000, innumerable multitude, And, you don't want to be caught up out here with, when these plagues start to hit the fan, man. Death, famine, destruction, pestilence, man, disease, right? Martial law, when Esau rolls in, he, rolls out the, the MOTB on the world, man. All right, you want to be grounded enough, to withstand, these different trials and temptations, man, right? But it starts now, man, right? It starts, this whole time, man. So, since you woke up, since you knew this word, since you knew this truth, it started, right? And, and it's going to be made manifest, if you actually believed, and if you was actually putting your foot forward to serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, if you was just, or you just knew the truth and was basically still in the world, man, because you got a lot of guys like that as well, man. Right? This Philippians 3:8. It says, doubtless, it says, and I count all things but lost for the excellency of the knowledge of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but done, that I may win Hamashiach. Right? So he says, doubtless, man, I count all things done, man. It said for loss, man. That he may win Yahweh Shai, man. Now, we don't give two flying, fleeks, man, about anything in this place, man, right? You know, now, of course, you know, some brothers have emotional attachments. Like I said, they got families or people they're close with, right? But when it comes to them trumping, you know, the mission at hand, the truth, you know, anybody, you know, nobody's bigger than the program, man, right? They, you know, anybody could get put on the back burner, man, if they coming up against Yahweh Shema Shah, or they coming up against his word, right? Because guess what, man? This is all that matters, man. You know, to men of the Lord, right? To the men, women, and children who fear and understand the will of Yahweh Shema Shah, right? So, yeah, man, we count all things but dung. Why? Because it's dung anyways, man. It's temporal anyways. It was never meant to be eternal. See, the kingdom of heaven is eternal, right? That salvation, you know, that once, you know, that can only happen once, man. You can't get that back, man. That's one of the incorruptible crowns, man. All right, you know, being delivered, man. Nobody can take that from you, man. All right, you know, we gotta go, you know, through the affliction to get there, but hey, once it's set in stone, it's set in stone, man. The elect is gonna be talked about from forever, man. Right? You know, in the kingdom of heaven, man. You know, the men who stood so swiftly for the names of Yahweh Shema Shah, right? The men who was, you know, stood bold as a lion in front of the face who such has afflicted them, right? Out on the highways and byways, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, man. Right? You know, counting, you know, their own lives, you know. You know, it says they love not their own lives unto death, man. Right? These men, you know, we don't give a fuck, man. Right? Excuse my French, but you know, we don't, man. You know, because hey, we're serving Yahweh Shema Shah, the power of the universe, man. You know, he's gonna reprimand us, man, for, you know, our labor of love that we have shown, man. Right? Lord, will we be those men? This is Matthew 22:37. It says, Yahweh Shah said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy power with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Right? And you know, the only thing we care about, or we hold dear to, you know, to us on this side is the brotherhood, man. Right? You know, besides that, man, everything else is tainted, man. Right? See, the brotherhood is pure, man. Right? You know, unfeigned love, man. Right? You know, a sound doctrine, man. You know, starting here at GMS, of course, you know. You know, starting with GMS and affiliated camps who teach the same doctrine, likewise doctrine, right? Coming in the same spirit. You know, that's it, man. You know, if it ain't about Yahweh Shema Shah, his word, you know, or the brotherhood, you know, you know, it should really be of no too much importance. All right, you know, those things can be placed on the back burner, man. You know, now like I said, Jake got, you know, kids and wives and all that, and family, you know, but you know, a lot of Jake kids and wives don't even serve the Lord, man. Right? So you know, a lot of our family members ain't gonna make it, man. So you know, you gotta be prepared for all of that, man. You know, and just be detached from this place, man. That's the main thing, man. You know, like with Lot's wife, man. You know, like the Lord told them leave and don't look back, man. You know that looking back, you know, was representation. You know, regarding something that they had there, man. We don't have shit here, man. Right? Our kids ain't our kids, man. You know, Esau come take them from you. Right? Our house ain't our house, man. You could, you know, get evicted, kicked out, the bank come take it if you don't, you know, pay your property taxes and so forth and so on, man. Right? You know, yeah, we don't have real substance, silver, gold, and you know, land and cattle, you know, like we did in the ancient world, man. You know, so this is, you know, hey, this is the land of our captivity, man. So you know, we don't have shit here, man. You know, here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. Right? So hey, you know, we shouldn't be too caught up in this you know, this shit anyways, man. It's all smoke and mirrors, and you know, hey, our people is just, you know, fucking shucking and jiving, or you know, somewhere off drugs or drunk, you know, just to get through, you know. But the Lord, yeah, he's gonna deliver us from this hell. All right? And hey, this is the comfort while we go through it, man. These scriptures. So that should be all that really matters. It's 2 Timothy 2. I'm just end off. I'm going to read it end off. It says in verse 3, it says, thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shah, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. right? And that's that, man. So don't be too entangled with the fears of this present evil world, right? So we could please Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man, you know? And, you know, what's pleasing to him, us doing this work, you know, us striving to be righteous, rehearsing the righteous acts, you know, so forth and so on, you know? Hey, being brotherly, man, showing brotherly love, you know? Hey, so with that, I'm going by giving all praise and glory due to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Rakakadash. I'm not surprised, great meals from real and scientists, all you brothers doing this work, true sincerity, with charity, to next time, shalom, and the Bible ball.